The NCAA is in Ann Arbor. These are some of the slimiest people in all of athletics, and they have come to investigate the Michigan football program on campus as we speak. I don't know, it's 5:30 as we're filming this East Coast time. Maybe they've left for the day. They're probably not working that hard, but they are in Ann Arbor talking to Michigan football staffers, university administrators, and talking to assistant coaches on what they knew, when they knew it, and how big this potential Michigan football spying scandal, how deep it goes. We've got all the details for you, and who could be the rat, both from an opponent's sideline and maybe inside the walls of the Michigan Football Alumni Network. Before we jump into all the bad details, let's start off things on maybe a little more of a positive note. What season did you become a Michigan football fan? I just want to get to know more about the audience here on the Michigan Football Report. I'm going to go like 1991 is the first season I remember because it's memorable, Desmond Howard, all that good stuff. But like the first year I was like a super fanatic. It was probably like 95, 96, 97, the Charles Woodson era there. So let me know, what year did you become a Michigan football fan? It's Michigan. It's the NCAA. Who's the rat? We've got all the details for you here on the Michigan Football Report from Chat Sports right now. Welcome back to the show. We've been seeing a lot of each other lately. It's our fifth video. I think, what, Jack, in 36 hours, something like that? Do a lot of videos. 2 on Tuesday, 2 on Wednesday. Got associate producer Coop in the building. He produced the video last night. He's back in helping out as well as the ESPN just put out an article to kind of tack on to the Washington Post one from yesterday, to tack on to the Sports Illustrated one from yesterday afternoon. So a ton to talk about. We had the news on the NCAA. ESPN also reported too, so they're going to get the credit for breaking it. We would have liked that credit, but let's jump into it. What we know, the NCAA is searching electronics of Michigan football staff members as we speak, given access to computers, phones, other devices. Case being finalized, according to this ESPN report. This information we didn't have before the 2024 season is unlikely. And if the investigation ended in a week, Michigan would not be required to respond until after the college football playoff. That we did know, right? That we knew about the 90-day response period that an NCAA school has when a college football team has NCAA sanctions or an NCAA letter of allegations. Anything that comes down from the NCAA, you've got 90 days to respond. As we told you a couple days ago, the only way this is really going to affect Michigan this year, no matter what happens, is that the evidence was so egregious that the Big Ten decided to step in and say, we're putting an end to this ourselves. The Big Ten members say, Michigan, your season's over. You're not allowed to go into the Big Ten championship game, anything like that, or we're going to give you a conference-sponsored postseason ban, which frankly I think is unprecedented in the history of college football. Now, the Big Ten did step in last year, if you recall, after the brawl in the Big House, Michigan Stadium, Tunnel, Michigan State, and Michigan. It was actually the Big Ten that stepped in and suspended all of those Michigan State players. So there is a little bit of precedent for it, but not shutting down an entire season. Guys, I put this on Twitter a couple days ago. Got a ton of engagement. Thank you so much for following me there at James Yoder. We're still putting out good vibes. The end is not here, right? Everything is not all doom and gloom. So as of right now, Michigan's on bye week. They are the odds-on gambling favorite to win the national title, and J.J. McCarthy is the favorite, according to the odds makers, to win the Heisman Trophy. So if you're feeling good about that this season, maybe the last dance, give me a like on this video. Got 800 likes on the last time we said like the video if you're riding with this team. So can we beat 800 likes? I think we can. Hit the like button. It hurts nobody. It doesn't hurt you at all. It doesn't cost you anything. And puts the video in the feed of more Michigan football fans, which will hopefully allow us to drown out the comment sections, all the haters from Ohio State and Georgia and Michigan State, probably Tennessee, Peterson. You guys are a real slimy crew there at the Tennessee Volunteers. So the Washington Post comes out with the article last night. If you didn't see the video, go back. We did a late-night video for, not late night, 9 o'clock Eastern or so, on the details of Michigan having this elaborate travel scheme and evidence of these hard drives turned in by some private investigation firm on Michigan coaching staff or staff members having access to this travel plans and access to the videos that came out of it. I've got questions, all right? I've got theories. I'm going full conspiracy theory mode, right? I kind of am wondering, is there something here that we don't know? A little thing I saw this a few days ago, and I'm like, interesting. Then the Washington Post comes out, and it's this. Michigan a few months back, put out maybe 2 months ago, I guess, put out a campus-wide alert to all students and former students that the University of Michigan had a personal information data breach in August of this year. Pretty peculiar timing. Is that data breach some Russian hack information breach orchestrated by Michigan's rivals and enemies, maybe even Ryan Day himself? Worth contemplating. Also later in the show, before we kind of dive more into the Washington Post article and some other NCAA bylaws that you've got to know about, later on, we're going to talk about Jim Stapleton, the guy who wears a what's the Mr. Rogers, right? Mr. Rogers sweater, a button-up shirt, and then he's going old school. He's got the gold chain underneath the button-up. That's Jim Stapleton. Is he the rat? The leaker, John U. Bacon, said he was yesterday on Columbus radio. So we'll see how that shakes out. All right, let's go into this Washington Post article. Covered everything, all the details yesterday. But how did an outside investigative firm have access to documents and videos from multiple Michigan coaches, or that multiple Michigan coaches and staffers had access to? I don't know. But now I'm connecting dots here. I'm connecting dots. You guys know I'm a big dot connector. Matt Weiss was fired back in February, suspended in January, just a week or two after the college football playoff, and Jim Harbaugh's, look at the NFL like he does that seemingly every year. So that happened back then, and if you recall, this was information that was ascertained from some police investigation that started back in December before the Michigan TCU game. All right, so the police investigation. Now, I said this morning on Twitter. I said, this outside firm, how do they get access to Michigan football computers? There's got to be an inside man. There's got to be some sort of rat or some kind of bigger investigation. And I'm thinking, well, Matt Weiss, maybe he hired a lawyer who hired a firm. Maybe he took his laptop with him, never gave it back to Michigan, still had access to like a Dropbox folder, and wants to rat Michigan out because he knows about the sign stealing or something like that. I don't know. Matt Weiss, could he be the rat? Or could it be some private investigative firm that he's hiring to defend him? Maybe so. Now, the Ann Arbor News asked the University of Michigan police chief if the Spygate to Matt Weiss, if those situations are linked, and they said no connection. There's no connection between the sign stealing and the Matt Weiss investigation. Interesting to say the least, because I'll say this, all right? If you believe the cops, you're a cop. If you're looking around a room, if you're not wearing the wire, the guy who's pointing the finger, that's the guy who's wearing the wire. If Ann Arbor police is saying there's no connection, there's a connection here. I'm just saying they would only say that if there was a connection, because if there was not a connection, they would just say no comment. Just something to think about. More conspiracy theories that I have on this entire thing. If you guys didn't see that, there is a little bit of chatter out there in the Twitter sphere that I have confirmed that could this Washington Post article yesterday come from Ryan Day himself? Because you look down into the deep conspiracies, you kind of line up timelines. The guy who wrote the article, Boston College journalism student, 2003 to 2006. Beep, 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 beep. Who was there as a grad student from 2003 to 2004? Hit campus together in 2003. Ryan Day was a GA at Boston College in 2003. Is this his buddy? Is he writing a hit piece on behalf of Day? I don't know. But if it's not Matt Weiss, if it's not Ryan Day, or both combined, there's got to be a disgruntled ex-employee here somewhere, or none of this story makes sense at all. So I've got a lot of conspiracy theories, got a lot of things that you guys have to know. We're going to talk more about what's happened in the last day, and we're going to tell you about Jim Stapleton, the supposed rat, the guy that John U. Bacon outed, here in a second. But a bigger announcement for you, and that is that I got my prize picks in for Monday Night Football. It is the Lions. It is the Raiders. Should be a fun game, and I'm doing it with Prize Picks, the ultimate daily fantasy sports platform that takes your passion for sports to the next level. With Prize Picks, you just select your favorite athletes in college or the pros. You make predictions on the performance for a chance to win big. You don't have to do these complex daily fantasy lineups. You're not playing against the pros. You're just going and looking up a player. I've got these guys for Monday Night Football. Josh Jacobs, Las Vegas Raiders. Then we've got the hometown Detroit Lions, Jared Goff and Amon-Ra St. Brown. All you got to do is predict more or less for the stats that you want. So for Josh Jacobs, it's really score a touchdown, either passing, rushing, or receiving. I'm going less than a half touchdown. So I'm saying no touchdowns for him. Jared Goff, I'm going more than 252.5 yards. I'm on Ron St. Brown at 79.5 yards receiving. More. I put $10 on it. I get those three right. I got a 50 spot in my pocket. You can win up to 25 times your money if you put predictions on up to 6 players in one Prize Pick outing. Prize Picks is the easiest and fastest way to play daily fantasy sports. Get up to a $100 deposit bonus match when you use our link, prizepicks.com/CLNS. Prizepicks.com/CLNS. The code, when you make your first deposit, $100 deposit match, is CLNS. The link is down in the comments, down in the description of today's video, and right there at the bottom of today's screen. Go use Prize Picks. I love it. It's my favorite app this football season. Now, what do we need to know? All right, what we need to know on this situation, I think, that we don't know now, right? This is just my takeaways. Right? Number one, who gave the private investigator, wherever this firm, who's still an anonymous firm, which I think is a little shiesty, how do they get access to or information from computers that belong to Michigan football staff, or hard drives, or cloud computing, or anything like that? I need to know that. Next, we want to know, is there any proof that Jim Harbaugh was directly involved or knew anything about it? Now, this was kind of glossed over yesterday, but seems to have got a little traction today, is that the NCAA and this private investigator firm that was turned over to the Washington Post evidence said that there was no evidence as of now that they turned over to the NCAA that Jim Harbaugh accessed or had direct knowledge. But as the NCAA does their investigation, will we find out, did Harbaugh know? Did he use it? Did he orchestrate it himself? I think that's going to really vary the spectrum of what Michigan's potential penalties could be in this situation. Next, what are the exact rules that they think that Michigan broke, right? I think there's been a lot of speculation that, well, if you use any electronics at all, okay, well, the rule says it's got to be during a game, right? During your game. Whether or not a random college kid who gets a free ticket and $100 and films game, is that considered scouting or is that considered recording? We are going to look at those NCAA bylaws, because look at this. My middle name is Loophole, James Loophole Yoder. If there's a loophole you can be found, I will find it. And I saw some things on the internet. I went to the NCAA bylaws. I took a look, and I think maybe Michigan should be watching this show. I know Jim Harbaugh does, that we should look at those loopholes, which we will in a second. But let's take a temperature of the room. What is your stress level right now? Scale of 1 to 10. I'm going to give you the arc of this for me. I think last week it was like a 4 when this first came out. I'm like, oh, this doesn't sound good. Another scandal, another sanctions, whatever, another thing to worry about. And then it's like, oh, we're good for a few days. And then the stuff came out on Monday, Tuesday, and I was fine. I started stressing out last night, right? Last night I went to like a 7. I'm like, it's done. Hopefully we get this season. And maybe I'm like at a 6 now because of the evidence that we're going to show you right now. So let me know, scale of 1 through 10, 1 being the lowest, 10, you're losing your mind, you're going batshit crazy. Let me know in the comments. So let's go back to 2013. NCAA bylaw 11.6.2. It seems like there's way too many bylaws if there's that many, 11 and 6 and 2. A member institution shall not pay or permit the payment of expenses incurred by athletics department staff or representatives, including scouting services, to scout opponents or individuals who represent its opponents. Now, if that bylaw was still in place, I would say that anything that Connor Stalions and his group of weirdos that are trying to write Michigan manifestos did is clearly a violation. But that didn't exist anymore. They rewrote the bylaw in 2013 to say this: in the interest and simplicity, or interest and consistency, is appropriate for one rule regarding scouting of all sports, because prior to that, 11.6.2 was only for, I think it was men's football, men's basketball, women's basketball, and I believe volleyball. So in most cases, video of future opponents is readily available, either through institutional exchange, so one school gives their film to another, yada, yada, subscription to a recording or dubbing service, or an internet site accessible to the general public. That language is a little murky. This is accessible to a general public, so what's to stop me from recording a game? I went to the Notre Dame-Ohio State game, just recording the entire thing, putting it on the internet. So what you don't see there, though, is the word scouting services. You can use subscriptions. You can use internet sites. You can do things like that. I think the interesting thing in here is my notes. I just want to make sure I don't miss this one. Is third-party recording is now apparently in the bylaws something that's allowed, whether it's a service or a college student with his iPhone. Who's to decide? Scouting still prohibited, but scouting has to be someone from the actual staff. So if Connor Stalions was at a game, if a Michigan football staffer or intern, someone who actually works the program was at a game, this all goes out the window. But if it was randos who live in cities or people working on behalf of Stalions getting a couple $100 here and there, I don't think that you're going to find. I think it's Michigan's guilty of something here. They're guilty of something, but is it to the letter of the law what the NCAA prohibits? I think Michigan's got to play loophole game here, because if not, then they're absolutely royally screwed. You're going to get multiple years of postseason bans, and Jim Harbaugh is absolutely going to get fired. So you got to play the loophole game. I think this new 11.6.2 may be the only chance that Michigan has. Bud Elliott from 24/7 Sports, he addressed it. He's basically saying the NCAA doesn't think it's serious because they themselves recently tried to overturn this, but it just hasn't gone through their process as of yet. So this is from 2021, almost 2 years ago, November 18th, 2021. I guess it does say it was defeated, so I'm not sure why it was defeated, who votes on that. But if you see there in yellow, in-person scouting with electronics creates a minimal competitive advantage gained by scouting future opponents in person. Is that what they say? By in-person or in-person with electronics. So if the NCAA is trying to overturn it, like Bud Elliott from 24/7 Sports and CBS said, and the NCAA 2 years ago tried to overturn it themselves and put that it gives a minimal advantage, then where is the harm? I don't know. I'm just trying to lay out the case that maybe this isn't as salacious as we may have thought less than 24 hours ago. Quick update. Told you earlier in the week, before this show started to get, this story started to get hot and heavy, we were challenged by the scumbags at the Alabama Football Report here at Chat Sports, who would get the most subscribers between this Monday and this coming Tuesday, the end of the month, when the first college football playoff rankings come out. Luckily for us, we've had a lot of good shows recently because of all this news, so we are dominating right now, but the competition is over. Still have 5 days left, so if you've yet to do so, subscribe to the channel. Michigan football content every single day, the deepest anybody's going to go on video form, at least, on this Michigan football scandal. You get to stick it to Alabama Football Report. Make sure that Alabama's a really scumbag state. It's the only state currently where it's still legal to marry your cousin, so we can't let them beat us. Send the link to your friends. It's youtube.com/MichiganTV. And as you see at the bottom of the screen there, just a few moments, I'm going to show you why, once again, that Ryan Day is clearly involved in this and that he is a rat. Let's turn our eyes to Jim Stapleton, right? This was actually going to lead the show until the news about the NCAA being in town came around. So who is this Jim Stapleton? He has taken fire over the last about 28 hours since John Bacon jumped on radio in Columbus yesterday morning. I'll tell you all about him, but let's take a look at this photo. I saw this on Twitter yesterday. I thought it was hilarious. Jim Harbaugh holding up his trophy, Ryan Day's head. I think Day absolutely has something to do with this. Is that the rattiest face in all of college? Not Harbaugh. I saw that. I saw that, you guys. Ryan Day. It's the rattiest face in all of college football. We started the slogan a couple years ago, lead into that. So if you guys are interested in helping me stomp out the Ohio State fans, we had like 150 comments on last night's video of cheater and all this stuff. Drown them out with some Bosa's beat Ohio State again. So comment it as many times as you can. Bonus points. You're an extra awesome Michigan football fan if you comment Bosa 10 or more times on this video. Keep rolling on Jim Stapleton. Did we show that photo? Was that on screen a second ago? Can we go back to that really quick? I just want to observe this guy's appearance. Look at this guy's photo. He has got, I mean, look, I'm going bald here a little bit, so I'm trying to cover it up the best I can, but he has got the straight up halfway back haircut. He's got the nerdiest glasses of all time. Then he's got the Mr. Rogers sweater with the button up, but he's still trying to show you he knows who's boss. He could still pull some chicks. He's got the gold chain on beneath it, a true stud, I'm sure, in his mind. But he was ratted out by John Bacon, who on 97.1 went on 97.1 The Fan in Columbus yesterday morning. Basically said that Stapleton's the rat. If there's anything coming out to the NCAA, he almost guarantees it that it was Stapleton. Says that he hates Harbaugh, also sabotaged Rich Rod, and from what I've ascertained over the last 24 hours or so, rumored to be a longtime friend of Michigan Athletic Director Warde Manuel. Here's what Bacon said. They're getting leaks like crazy from the NCAA. Watch for a guy named Jim Stapleton. He's a Michigan grad who blackballed Harbaugh when he was trying to get the Minnesota Vikings job when Stapleton himself was working. And there's rumors out that he's actually like a minority owner. I don't think that's true. I think that he just has worked for the ownership group of the Vikings, although I don't think he does anymore. Bacon continued. It doesn't matter who the source is, though. This is where, like, if you're going to be the rat, if it turns out to be true and your opponent goes down, this is kind of like the criminal justice system. If you're a criminal, you take out other criminals. It doesn't matter as long as your information is correct, and maybe that's where Stapleton might think that he's in the right here, is that, well, Michigan may be cheating, so even if I'm the rat and I'm ratting out my school I went to, my university, alma mater, well, I'm doing a good thing because I'm such a righteous guy. So who is this mystery man, Jim Stapleton? Former region in Eastern Michigan, involved. I'm not going to say he's an owner because I think that's fake news. But we've read articles going back to February of last year of 2022 that he was involved in blackballing Jim Harbaugh, trying to tell the Vikings ownership group about how hard Harbaugh is to work with, yada, yada, yada. And how about this? He is on the NCAA Committee of Infractions. The group, 24 people, that the NCAA brings evidence to after they do these investigations to decide whether or not the punishment that they have laid out for a school is right and justified. This is the guy apparently leaking things to the media from the Michigan side, from the NCAA side. This is kind of crazy. And if you think about conspiracy theories here for a second, all right, if you think about who could have had some hand in this, if he's a longtime donor and all this stuff like that, could the whole computer thing come from him somehow? I don't know how. Right? I'm not a computer programmer, but I wouldn't put it past Jim Stapleton having something in it from the start. If you think about it a little bit deeper, the rumor has been confirmed by Todd Anson's, Jim Harbaugh's longtime friend, maybe his best friend, on Twitter last week, that Jim Harbaugh 2 weeks ago was told by Michigan that he will have a contract to sign before the Purdue game on November 4th. I'm pounding the table here. Jim Stapleton hates Harbaugh, blackballs him, gets wind of the contract, doesn't want to let it happen, thinks Harbaugh's going to the NFL, but not if we sign him to a long-term deal at $12, $15 million a year. If he puts the whole thing into place over the last 2 or 3 weeks, the timelines would add up. John Bacon went out and said he is the rat. And I'm not going to discredit Bacon's word, some other things, but definitely not on this. I think this is our 7th video in the last 6 days on this Michigan football Connor Stalions scandal. So how would you grade our coverage so far? Give me an A, B, C, D, or F. You can use pluses. You can use minuses if you want. I was texted earlier today. Someone said A+ coverage on the Stapleton Stalions issue, NCAA issue. It was my mom who texted me, though, but the votes count. So let me know what your grades are, A, B, C, D, or F. All right, so what is this NCAA Committee on Infractions that Stapleton is on? This is the group that holds hearings on major infraction cases, issues rulings, and administers sanctions. All right, continuing on. There are some major distinctions, but this is the college sports version, all right, of a courtroom. And the people that seated around the square are both the judge and the jury. Now, I did allude to it a second ago. They don't actually, they're supposed to judge what the NCAA brings to them. They're not actually supposed to, give the all-out ruling as far as punishments themselves. They're supposed to say whether that it is just or not. I found this quote, though, from Stapleton. Look at this guy. Who says things like this? I think it's a critical time in the industry, which is the one reason I put my hand up to serve. This group can really make a difference. This group is, so we got up there, the CDC, who else? Who's got the least credibility in all of America right now? The CDC, the NCAA Committee on Infractions, who else? Antifa. Those 3 groups, you put them together, the least credibility in all of America right now. And that's what Jim Stapleton said that he is there to serve. And this is the group he is on. I don't know. This guy seems like a shyster, a scumbag. Anyone who wears a gold chain under a dress shirt, under a Mr. Rogers sweater, has the hair back here and the nerdy glasses, the guy is up to no good. He's trying to live 2 lives. It's almost like having a mullet, right? Party in front, business in front, party in back. That's kind of what he's doing with the chain there. It seems kind of shysty. But I'll ask this question one more time. We've asked it 2 or 3 times in the past week. Do you think, based on everything we've told you yesterday, today, this last week, did Connor Stalions act alone? Give me a 1 for yes or a 2 for no down in the comments. Let me know what you guys are thinking on this situation, right? I said yesterday, maybe the day before, I have no doubt that he acted alone. I've got some doubts now. I definitely have some doubts whether or not he acted alone. So that's just all I'll say. So I'm going to put, I don't know, I'm going to put 2. No, he did not act alone. There's other people that are involved from the Michigan side of things, I think, absolutely. Here's a tweet from me. Think back. Talking about Ryan Day now, Ohio State. You're not off the hook. All right. Ohio State loses to Clemson. Pete Thamel, the week coming up to the game, reports that. They lost to Clemson in 2019, leading up to the game in 2020. Pete Thamel reports multiple times that Clemson has been rumored to steal signs, and Ryan Day said it's interesting that Clemson always knows the right play. Ohio State loses to Michigan 2 years. Who's writing all the articles out there? No other than Pete Thamel. And I told you, I'm the only one who has this information. Thamel was trying to curry favor with Ohio State players' parents, inviting all the star players from Ohio State, their parents, to sit right first row at game day at the Ohio State game a few weeks ago. The guy is a total mouthpiece for Ohio State. And then I come across this one. I forgot about this. Look at this. This is from this past year. This is from this past December. Kirby Smart, and then Georgia offensive coordinator Todd Monken, respond to a rumor that Georgia had a camera spying on Ohio State's Peach Bowl practices before the College Football Playoff. Who do you think put that rumor out there? Ryan Day, I guarantee it. 3 schools have been able to beat Ohio State with any consistency over the last 6-7 years. Clemson did it a couple times. Michigan's beat them twice. Georgia beat them last year and certainly has the upper hand, only 1 loss in there. All 3 schools accused of spying and stealing signals. Way too much of a pattern for Ryan Day to not be involved. The guy has no shame. I think he's a rat. He looks like a rat. He looks like a rat. He smells like a rat. He gives up 2 touchdown runs over 75 yards to Donovan Edwards in a 2-minute span. You're definitely a rat, and that is Ryan Day. Make it all the way to this 26 minutes and 38-second video. Like the video. Make sure that we have over 750 likes. Put this in the feed of more Michigan football fans. We'll be back on Friday with more of the Michigan Football Report. Go Blue.